Alright.
All right.
Are we live?
I
Does it
don't
say
know.
we're live. You gotta load up our
Are you
thing.
gonna what?
You gotta load up the relay just so that we can
Oh, you want to
make
see?
sure that, yeah. And then I'm going to share
There.
mine on
Okay, there we
Facebook.
are.
Awesome. So, welcome everybody back to the Red Mike Talks. Brian C's and Nick F. Here we are, Red Mike Talks 3. Oh, it
Oh.
didn't get the profile picture, it used your bike one, but we can change that.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, we can edit that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, here I am. Just bear with us.
I
for
have the
one-
feed here too.
1 second. We have to share our video. There's no point on talking if there's nobody around to hear it.
That's true.
Copy. Facebook. We should hire. a
Another
team to
Sunday
do this.
evening in the Pokey Nose.
See, what do they got? Breaking news today. Oh, there's a big breaking news globe on my Facebook wall. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, was that my breaking news? That might have been.
Matt
The
Hazel.
Mueller report got leaked by Mark Dice.
Let's see. Let's see what it is. Alright, we are shared.
Share.
Breaking
Good.
news. Trump did not conspire with Russia.
No.
It's not breaking news to half the country, but I guess that's a start, you know? So what is your... Well, let's see. There's two media narratives. There's what the news wants us to talk about, and then what the news doesn't want us to talk about. I would say that what the news wants us to talk about is banning assault weapons after the New Zealand Christchurch shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It's weird because it feels like the media is kind of like we share, like we share a media. You know what I'm saying? Like New Zealand, England,
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S. We shouldn't all be. You got audio?
No.
I don't think that thing worked last time.
Hmm.
But we did. This thing picked up, but that thing I don't think worked. You should actually unplug it just in case.
Well, that's the same thing. It's all plugged into the same place.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it might interfere with that. All right.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, if we go back and play it. So. Well, the Christchurch shooting is the thing. They want everybody to ban assault weapons now. They didn't even wait for a court report or anything. They didn't have any conclusions. They just went and banned the firearms. So I think that's more of an experiment to see how it works. If you can just ban firearms, if the people are going to retaliate. New Zealanders are.
Well, I heard they did
know.
retaliate. The government ordered them to turn their guns in, and they didn't do it.
And I also don't know because I tried to do a little bit of snooping around online to see if there was media articles covering the opinions of the gun owners, and there's just a lack of that. What I'm seeing is the media is saying that New Zealanders are willingly handing over their guns, and I highly doubt that. I mean, I highly doubt that the mass of New Zealand is willingly just giving away its guns. Like, oh yeah, we're sorry we ever bought one in the first place, but that seems to be the Yahoo News trending thing right now. One of the kids that survived the Parkland school shooting committed suicide. And I'm not even going to read into that.
Oh, the Parkland kid?
One of them committed suicide. Somebody who survived the
Oh.
shooting. I don't know if it wasn't like David Hogg or somebody.
No, there was a girl. I saw a headline a couple of days ago that she passed away, but I assumed that it had to do with her injuries. I didn't know
No,
that.
one of them was a suicide. They said it was trauma related. Yeah, it's always a shame.
It's
but
a shame.
Yeah, I've lost so many friends growing up. Not that it's saying it's a right thing. There's no, it's never a good thing. But at the same time, it's they're kind of spinning her story to be like she was a martyr for ending gun or pushing for gun control, which is not right. It's one of those things where I feel like if we had better laws with guns, if it was more if people had better security systems, I think if you knew every house in the neighborhood has a gun, you're not going to go rob anybody. You're taking your chances. You go into an unarmed area, I definitely feel that you don't feel like there's any. That's how shootings happen. People feel like, oh, there's nobody's gonna stop me, and they just walk in and they do.
Oh yeah,
But,
the soft target
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah, I think that you never see people go to police departments and do that. They're not,
Mhm.
people aren't stupid. They don't do that kind of stuff. You know, and the people that are stupid enough to do that stuff, they don't pick the police departments. They pick the easy, soft targets, which, you know, they should pick on someone their own size, if anything. See how long they last, you know? But I also don't think, though, that the police should be that everybody's resort for, you know, if you're getting robbed, I don't think you should have to wait for the police to show up to your house. That gets onto that whole topic with the gun ownership. It's all obvious. We already, you know, the gun debates have been talked 1,000 times over.
Oh, look, we are getting audio. Okay.
Good.
I'll turn that off
Double
so we
checking.
get feedback. Okay.
Saying we don't have the budget for a technician team, but we can donate here. You know, we don't even have the budget to put the tile.
We didn't do
we
that
don't have
yet.
anything like that. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Once we pass, I think 5 viewers, we'll do it. So.
Yeah, we don't. I'm not gonna bother to try to get monetized by YouTube because eventually they'll demonetize us. So we might as well just.
Eventually, they will
you know,
demonize us. For
we might as well just separately, have funding set up in case anybody wants to donate to the cause.
Yeah.
We can do it through Patreon or PayPal or
We can do something about like
some
these
other
with these
type of thing.
these coins. I don't know if they can see the detail on the desk, but these are just like commemorative coins with the president on them, and quite a nice coin. So if you guys get a chance to pick those up, they're kind of neat. I think they're definitely something everybody should add to their collection.
You'd have to have a link on there.
You'll have
put
to
them
put up
online
something. Put
someplace.
them on an eBay link, and then just
Yeah,
you know,
could
and just
do
say it's a
that.
contribution thing, and you know, we'll ask maybe $10 more than what they're going for, and then it goes to this
Well.
cause or something. It helps us
Mm.
upgrade the technology we have.
Like we can even just sell them for a slight profit, and then that'll encourage more circulation.
Yeah.
You know, right
Yeah,
now,
really the
right
point is to
now,
get 'em in the hands of people.
face to face, I'm selling them very
I mean, now
inexpensively.
they should be worth a fortune. Now the Trump collusion story is over. It's done. It's finito. 2 years of dealing with that, and it ends in another "I told you so." But yeah, you can't go wrong with another report though that's out and out of the way. We don't have to focus on that. Worry about that anymore. I think we should put that in the past and immediately focus on now. Okay, who are the people blaming him for all these things, and we should go after those people. And however much money was wasted on this report, I think they should be responsible. All the money that Trump had to pay for legal defense, I feel like they should be responsible.
Well, I think that the current administration we're concentrating on taking care of all the things that need to be taken care of in a positive manner rather than fighting with the lunatics on the other side.
Yeah.
Just let them run, and every day we're getting something else done. People can catch the latest news of what the administration is getting done, not by watching the TV news, but by looking on magapill.com. That's magapill.com. They have the administration's accomplishments
That's
posted
pretty
there
cool.
on a daily basis.
I didn't know that.
So
I'll have to
even,
check on
even the
that.
president
I-
caught his eye. I heard him
Wow.
talking about it one day.
I usually I get it secondhand from the Donald or like Reddit websites like that because I've
Mhm.
often found that, especially during the election, most of the stuff before it was news was on the Donald. People were talking about it first. It just kind of, it's in some sense it is an echo chamber, but it's still a good base for where things come out of and where you can analyze the information.
Well,
that,
and
you know.
and you can watch the administration operate on a daily
Yeah, and
basis.
it's,
Cabinet meetings. It's a
It's
YouTube
posi-
channel, the White
positive
House.
criticism.
So,
Usually, but and then we were talking about too earlier the Pelosi and Schumer and that whole gang, and they were mentioning that just oh, don't worry that we didn't get the Russian collusion thing, we'll get them next time, and it's like like they're the villains in a good movie or something, and like they don't have a job to do.
Well,
Like Trump is their only job, like they're making it so that their job is good. I mean, come on, that's what we're
like,
paying them to do, really.
I think the more time they waste on useless crap, I think that they're proving over and over again that they don't even care about their constituents. All they care about is this constant witch hunt, trying to
And
keep
our
themselves
politicians
relevant.
shouldn't be. It's not.
I
We're
think
not.
a lot of people don't even care what they think anymore.
People think it's like.
I
I mean,
know,
I guess
I
it
quit.
is, but it's not like a Roman Coliseum that we're throwing all these politicians in, and it's like, all right, let's see who comes out alive. It shouldn't be that. They should be working together in the benefit of us, and it's our fault if they are eating each other alive. We caused that, and it's something that we would have to address. And I think that people need around here, I noticed we were going around and collecting signatures for a petition, and I'll just leave out the details for it. It was just for somebody to run, and we noticed a lot of times people are saying, "Oh, I'm still registered Democrat. I wish I wasn't, though. I'm so sorry." Then switch, like what's been
Well, they don't.
keeping you up.
They might
but-
not. Well, maybe when you go around with the petitions, you should carry around voter registration cards because people can fill those out and send them in, and then they will be able to change parties.
And that's another thing is I think a lot of people are still, especially on Facebook, they're still in the mindset of that we have to debate the Democratic side to win them over. We have to debate these people and we'll win them over.
I think we should ignore them.
I think
and
we
just
should
go
ignore
about
them.
our
We're
business.
done. I think that either the
You're
point has been
arguing with
made.
idiots and
Yeah, the point
people
has
that
been
are-
made and it's been proven again and again and again. And it's kind of you're either on board or you're not on board. Either you're a patriot or you're not a patriot. There's no middle ground there. Some people you'll get the Tucker Carlson I don't know, they're pretending to be critical over Trump, but they actually they really support the guy. But I don't think that we should be focusing on attacking the other side. We should be strengthening our base and trying to build up our local communities and get their voices out there, and then go to places and talk to people and see if they're registered, who they're registered with, if they're up to date with politics. Because if we're just sitting back, it's
Well, that's why I encourage people to come to the rallies, come to the meetings, show up at the events. If they go to events where people are promoting, trying to get more things done, then they'll see it for themselves, and they can help to support that. It's no good to show up at a Hillary rally or whatever. Democrat. If they're going to have a whole bunch of Democrats running on stage this time around, like they had the Republicans running last time. I'm not even going to waste my time watching it. It's just another circus that I could care less about. Because we know the president's going to wipe the floor with them.
Yeah,
so.
I know who they got. They got.
We should just stay concentrated with the job that we need to take care of.
I mean, it's hysterical. They have Kamala Harris, who.
Fake black person.
Yeah,
that's actually Indian.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought she was somewhat black or something. She has a Jamaican father
only during the
something,
summertime, right? I guess. So she sits out.
I don't know. She doesn't identify with the politics of the black community.
Well, she tries to make
pretends
believe
she does, but she definitely
yeah.
doesn't. She's prosecuting people left and right.
Both her parents are Indian, born in India,
and we
have
India. Robert O'Rourke, who I don't know how they've
fake Mexican.
I don't know how they've put faith in him. I don't know. I have
no
idea how anybody has faith in
when somebody is obviously pretending to be somebody that they're not, you would think that there would be people of character or honor that would say, "Oh, that person's a fraud."
And
Why would
Bernie
I want to support a fraud?
Speaking of frauds and of people with bad character, look at Bernie Sanders. He let Hillary Clinton walk all over him in the last election. You think we're going to let him run for president? God, he shouldn't even. They should have been filing. They should have said, "No, Mr. Sanders, go home. You had your chance. Sit down, sir."
I think he's just going to be another character on the stage.
Yeah. You know what?
The only way the Democrats have a chance is if they pull a rabbit out of the hat like they did with Obama.
When
he came out of nowhere.
First introduced to Bernie Sanders. This is before he was sold on running on the Democratic platform. This is before we knew he was a socialist. The guy does make great debates. The guy actually does a phenomenal job debating, and that was one of the things. He had strengths.
He's been in Congress for 30 years, right?
He had a chance,
back
then
How long has
run.
Bernie Sanders been in Congress? Probably 30 years, maybe longer.
Well, he was part of the Nixon era too, so he's been a while. Yeah.
Well, that would be 40 years then.
Yeah, so he's been around a while. He's got his experience. He's known Hillary through that time too. They've been close. So.
Well, I heard that if he was elected to president this time around in 2020, he'd be older than President Trump.
Really? I don't know why. He had his chance. I feel like he really blew it. And you know what? I feel like he did have a solid chance, but the party that he's representing, he shouldn't be representing anymore. Obviously, they did him dirty. And, and again, I hope that he's got, a real sense of regret that he missed his chance, because that's kind of the price you pay for letting somebody like
And how about
Crooked
creepy
Clinton.
Uncle Joe?
Yeah, and I don't know why. Well, has he announced that he's running yet?
I don't know.
I don't think he will. I think the fact that they
follow
call him Creepy Uncle
mainstream
Joe
news
scares
very
him
much.
enough. If he's got skeletons in his closet, he won't run. He'll be
they're
afraid of people
They're
using
not in
it
his
against
closet.
him. They're out in the open
They're all
now,
over the internet.
But he might still think they're in his closet. He's not going to run because of that, though. He's not going to want the media to throw the book at him. He sees what's going on.
I don't know. They hid all that they ignored it while he was in the White House.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
was saying, the old Marvel saying, or Capcom, whoever is DC, he died, die a hero or whatever, or you live long enough to see yourself be the villain. He's best off just staying as Obama's VP, and that was it. Disappear,
Mhm.
go away. Don't keep your head into politics because people are just going to chew him apart, and he didn't really do anything for good. Same with John McCain. Everyone was calling him like the maverick of the Republican Party. He voted with the Republican Party like 83% of the time or something. He wasn't any maverick. He was just like, McCain, and then the other half of the time, except for the last few years, yeah.
repealing Obamacare, he voted
voted against
getting
that.
rid of it after he
Like,
spent almost a decade campaigning to get rid of
Yeah,
Obamacare.
so I don't understand what that was about, but I don't really like McCain. I really don't mind that his name's being smeared. I think he kind of set himself up for that. He told Donald Trump he didn't want him at his funeral. Can you imagine?
Yeah, but
still, like, can you imagine like going up to any human being and and just being like, you know what? It's like I know you, like we just don't get along. Don't show up in my.
I can think of a couple of people I don't really want at my funeral, but.
But Trump, though, I mean, that's just picking. It's not like the guy.
Well, it's petty. It's petty nonsense.
Yeah. It's
Just said he was born in 1941.
Keep going.
Who was born in 41?
Bernie Sanders.
Oh,
He
Bernie.
was born in 41. How'd the guy become a socialist? I mean, did he live through all of that stuff? How did he miss that much history?
He was an infant during World War II.
No, but wasn't he involved? Wasn't he hanging out during the Venezuelan? Who was he friends with, like Che Guevara and what was the other guy's name? We were all just celebrating that he died. Fidel Castro. Wasn't he friends with all of them? Like he hung out with all of them. He saw like the uprising or something firsthand. I don't remember. I don't remember what I was reading about him. I'm not too interested in Sanders
Well,
anymore.
1960. Wasn't it 1960 when Castro took over Cuba?
1959, 1960.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's his name? Sanders would have just been a teenager.
Yeah, there's pictures of him, I think. He was like in his teens or 20s or something. He was there. There's a picture of him with all the guys.
Oh.
Don't know if that's real or not, though. I'll put that out there. I have no idea if I saw that and it was a real photo. I can go back and find it. We can look at it and see if that's, but...
Well, I think the socialism part comes in when you're offering to give everybody everything for nothing. They're drawn to you like a magnet.
Yeah. Well, it's the same bait and switch they did in the last election.
They don't bother to explain to you that they'll give it to you today and tomorrow they'll raise your taxes to pay for it.
Well, I was reading today that New Jersey or something's passing. I don't. Some people are saying it's already.
Oh, the
in
rain
effect.
tax.
The rain
I
tax.
heard about the rain tax.
I mean, that's ridiculous. And then the catch-22
Yeah, they
is
got a rain tax in New Jersey now.
Yeah, you pay for like the square footage of your property. The water that runs off your property is.
What? Are you looking up the rain tax?
No.
Oh.
What?
Third party campaign early in the mid 1970s as independent.
Are you talking about burnt out Bernie?
Yeah.
But we know
Senator's
now that he was
most
hiding the
populous
socialism the whole time.
City,
He has the first. What was the
1981
first socialist in the U.S.?
by
The
a
first.
margin of 10 votes.
What was the guy's
Reelected
name?
3 times.
Bernie Sanders has a poster on his wall or a painting or whatever of one of these politicians that was like the pioneer for the Socialist Party in the U.S. Like he worships the guy,
Some guy that ran against FDR or something?
something like
There
that.
was
I don't.
a fellow that ran on the Socialist Party for like 10 or 20 years or
Mm.
something like that. Yeah, I know who you mean. but
He's
I
got a
don't know.
poster of him, and I mean, it's. I don't know. I think people forgot like what core American values were important. I think it was funny because we were watching like the movie Grease the other night, and I was just like, wow, like they're dancing and doing all the thing. It's like, man, America never looked further from that than they do now. But where is it going with that? We got values that like if your daughter goes out on a date and the guy gets her pregnant, he's gonna raise the kid, stuff like that. But we normally, obviously, like with the religious values, marriage comes first and all that. Not everybody's gonna follow. Not everybody cares about that. But just traditional things like being there, being involved. It seems that like certain subculture influences. It seems like everything except the traditional conservative white family seems to be what's flying nowadays. And I don't know. It's like it got to a point where everybody thought they were being cool with all these different styles and trying this and all that. And really, it seems that not being true to yourself or true to your family values that really is hurting people, and their families aren't as strong, or they just don't have much to show versus people that are really they people care about those values, but you can't blanket term people. But
He won
That's what
election
saves it.
to the U.S.
Mhm.
House of Representatives in 1990, representing
what
Vermont.
state? Vermont.
Yeah.
1990.
Hmm.
How do you get up into Vermont?
Re-elected 3 times.
If he was down in like Cuba and Venezuela and all that stuff, he must have been moving around, and he must have probably waited till he found a place where he was, kind of where there wasn't much competition, I guess. He owns a bunch of houses, so obviously he travels. He's used to that lifestyle. You gotta imagine the guy. I don't know if he's a native to Vermont or if he's just representing Vermont as a senator or something. It's a good question. So I'm still looking at this breaking news thing with the Mueller story. Let's see. Based and red pilled.
We can put the news on this screen if you like.
Yeah, I got that. I got the video running on that one. If you want to flip it, you
Yeah.
can keep the video there. And then we
Okay.
can load up the news.
What news do you want to watch?
I don't know. I was tired of Yahoo right now.
Hmm.
They're really on the gun agenda thing still, which I guess Yahoo must be like a main page for New Zealand or something. I mean, the internet must share on that ground because there's no way that they would be. If it was solely an American entity, I don't think that would even be a topic.
I've been watching the news through whatever feed is on Facebook. 'Cause they have people all over the world talking on there.
And the famous words of Denzel Washington: "If you follow the news, you're misinformed, but if you don't follow the news, you're uninformed." And then they asked him. Someone of the reporters said, "Well, what's your answer?" That's the whole point of the damn question. You gotta find your middle ground.
Yeah, the Facebook page of the Rachel Madcow show. I can't believe 2.6 million people.
To put it mildly, this is a document that's been in high demand. It's the Mueller report. Everybody wants to know what it says. Everybody under the sun. Everybody and their mother's curious what this says.
Well, Mark Dice released this. He released a leaked copy of the Mueller report.
Did he actually
I saw
release
it
the
this
report?
morning.
I have a Crowdsource the Truth page, which I'll give a shout out to. Maybe I'll share a video on their page. And I thought I saw a link pop up for the leak, but I didn't catch it in time. I wasn't able to click it. And
Well,
then I went back to find it.
Anybody goes to Mark Dice's Facebook page can find the link to it. I'm gonna go over there now.
You have to see.
You hear?
What?
No, Mark Dice page. You have
Yeah.
to see. Yeah, I didn't read it. I would love to read it and give it a review. I mean, we already know
Well,
that stuff doesn't
It
really.
didn't have any words in the report. It's just the
We just thought it was funny that Mueller news thing kind of drowned out the news of how do you pronounce that? Mozambique? How do you
Yeah,
Mozambique
Zimbabwe,
and Zimbabwe?
Mali.
Their death toll. I'm seeing someone say 446. I saw another article that said 750, and I know it's just a number right now. I'm sure that it will grow as they
As the floodwaters recede.
yeah. But they just got devastated right now. We don't see any aid for them or anything. Nobody's really calling any attention to them. Who's in charge of them? Like, are they in charge of themselves or?
Yeah, they're free nations.
They're free
They're
nations.
socialist nations.
Oh, they're socialists.
I
We'll
just
see how they deal with that.
I just put the link on Rachel Madcow's Facebook page in the comments section below her rant about the.
Is that the one with the empty hamburger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Mark Dice version.
We want the full report and not the summary. Those Democrats, they're not going to give up. They're going to just disappoint themselves.
I don't know how much they really care about anything other than
I think that
continuing to get
they'll
their
be
freeloader
devastated.
check.
I think they'll be devastated
You
when
know,
they
the few
find
million
out that
that
we
are
don't
still
even
getting
care about
food
them anymore.
stamps
That
and-
the Republican Party is literally getting past this whole Democratic
Mhm.
feud. I think we've
think-
made our case and we can proceed. We don't need to sit around and and try to win over people that never care. That they're never gonna. If they don't care for the country now, why would they care tomorrow? You know.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I think that
Yeah.
all they care about is getting their checks. You know?
Yeah.
And they're using all this other stuff as an excuse for.
I saw an article today. I think this is a great one
it's all
too.
phony
It said
baloney.
during the Trump campaign, there was a rise in like violence and hate crimes, and I was like, oh, I gotta call that out where I see it. You know, and I mean, it's not like we didn't
Was it
see.
real or was it just
No, it's real,
fake
but
news?
well, no, the media is what caused it. They're the
Oh,
ones that
oh.
riled everybody
Yeah,
up. They were the
they
ones
were
saying
egging
that
it
this
on.
guy's a racist, this guy's not. They were voicing Maxine Waters to send people to restaurants to go throw cups of water at people, you know, who you disagree with and stuff like that. They're riling everybody up, and then they were blaming us for the violent outbreaks. You know,
Mhm.
you see these people at like Trump. Look at the all the stories of people wearing MAGA hats getting jumped. That is the continuation of like what the media did, and then they're turning around and saying, "Oh, look at all these violent attacks." I'm sure half of that statistic is they're doing. At least
Mhm.
50% of that is
Yeah.
their fault completely. But God forbid media entities have any accountability. That's the other thing, and you see like people nowadays, you see like independent celebrities, and everything falls on them, and everybody's getting thrown under the bus left and right, and it's the big corporations that are, which anybody that was part of the Occupy Wall Street, anybody that's part of the left that hates big corporations, which is why some of these people are Democrats in the first place, how can they be so pro, you know, industry here and love these media entities that are clearly getting away with, you know, they could probably murder somebody and get away with it because they could, you know, they could spin the story, you know, oh, the guy tripped and fell. It's blows my mind
Well,
sometimes.
what about that kid that was on a school trip and a fake Indian guy with a drum shows up and the bishop
And they
condemns
sued.
the kid?
He sued for like 225 million or something like that. I mean, good for him, but
It was all fake
well,
news.
they lied on the news. They didn't even check the story. But it's like, you know, now they're with the New Zealand thing. They're banning the guns. They didn't even check the story. They didn't even make sure they had all the facts before they started that ban. And then that gets you concerned. Was that ready to go? There's always, just like there is with evolution and creationism, you have to accept the other. You don't have to believe in the theory, but you have to hear out the theory to know why your theory is still a theory. If that makes sense, you know, like we all understand Darwinism and the evolution and the whole thing. Like, you know, things evolved and certain things adapt, and it's not if you're smart or strong. It's just if you're able to adapt, you live on and everything. And you know, where was I going with that?
I have no idea.
I was saying with the that was a good one, and I totally lost my train of thought.
And you call me old.
Yeah, right. What was I going on about? I could go back to my video. I got too far out with that one. I got too far out and the rubber band broke and I couldn't get back.
I like that.
Your alleged mind will kick in at some point.
It'll come back. It'll be like 5 minutes down the road, and it'll hit me.
Well, at least you're not blaming me.
And I'll watch the video and I'll be like, that was a great point, and that was the conclusion. I totally lost it. I was already past the media thing. I don't even remember what I was on. Oh boy, I went too far out. But man, that derailed me. That derailed my
Do
train.
you think that the lack of any molar substance will help the Republicans with the wall and immigration and industrialization and all that?
I'm wondering if the wall is falling on like town responsibilities now, and they're just doing it as they go. And then the counties that can fight, I think that would work its way out. Just have the counties support the wall. Anybody who lives near that border, they should be all for it. I'm sure there's some places that are probably, you know, what we would consider a democratic, you know, pit hole for English's sake. But I'm sure that the democratic places, if they're supporting there being open borders right now, if you leave the borders
Be careful,
open,
you.
if you leave the borders open, I'm sure that, you know, they'll wake up soon enough. I mean, their cars go missing out in the morning and such, that they need a little bit of security in the neighborhood. I want to go back and look at the video of what I was talking about. I'm like still stuck on that thought. Man, that is a terrible feeling.
I'm sharing our feed on a couple of different Trumplican Facebook pages.
Sure, if I had a dislike button, it'd be full by now. But
Oh,
let's see where I'm at.
there is a dislike button, but it's going to take a while for folks to realize that we're even on air.
Yeah.
We're,
Just
we're
throw
not.
little segments and showed it to my buddy Dave, and he enjoyed it. He liked it. He thought it was
If we,
funny. It was,
if we started talking about where to find all the safe spaces in America, I'm sure we'd get a lot of people watching. You know?
Yeah, and I stopped today to help a kid whose car broke down.
Oh yeah.
And,
wow.
He had a Chevy Cruze, and I like keeping note on what problems
Oh,
the new cars
You
have.
mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, it was the guy with the overheating
Mhm.
Chevy Cruze, and which they're notorious now for the thermostat housing or some kind of issue, weird issue. And it was refreshing, meet somebody that mechanically inclined. He wasn't stranded or nothing. He knew what the problem was, knew how to deal with it. Which because the last video that my friend liked was a reference to there's some people out there that they don't know how to pump their own gas. How can they go home and not have a hard time eating? And my friend liked that. And it's true. There's a lot of people out there that they don't even know anything about a car. They don't know anything about it. They don't know how it gets them around. They don't even know, like, anything. And they get by just fine. And here we are. We know everything about everything. We're struggling. So we messed up somewhere. But, smart kid, really impressed me. And I asked him and his girl, I said, "Oh, you guys Trump supporters?" And they both, kind of hesitated for a second. Yeah. Like as if I was going to shoot them for saying, yeah. But, no, they were great people. They were happy to, they were relieved to hear that, they were good people. It's hard to find out. That was just a refreshing thing today. I mean, I put that in my Adventures of Nick Frank dialogue. It was a very good.
Do you think that a lot of Trump supporters feel isolated because of the blanket of press coverage for the Democrats?
I'm going to loud in that one. We're being asked if the Republicans feel isolated because of the press from the Democrats, and I have to absolutely say, yeah, they're trying to convince people not to go out and wear MAGA hats. They're going to keep perpetuating those stories until we feel bad about being us, or that's the whole goal about it. That's how they get you into paying for reparations. That's how they get you into giving your guns away. Oh, the Muslims are moving into town. You should feel bad that you're an American oppressor. You should give up your guns so the Muslims can come move in and take your neighborhood. Granted, look, if you want to practice your religion, I don't care. That's everybody has their own way. Judaism and Christianity, there's a reason that they're so close, and that there's a reason that they intertwine so well. And then again, we were going on to the Crusades earlier, and the Crusades the Crusades only happened because of Muslim influence. So there's a lot to this. It's not like history should just be forgotten.
It wasn't a Muslim Islamic invasion of Europe.
Correct. And it was to protect the religious artifacts, was it not? And it was to get them out of there so they didn't get destroyed, because that's what ISIS does today. They destroy everything. It was to get them out so that way they could be preserved.
It's like the Democrats trying to take the statues down and erase history.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. His grandfather's name is Dr. Marion Sims. He was one of the founders of gynecology. I believe New York was where he practiced, but I don't know if that's true. His statue for him was in New York. I don't know if it's still there. And somebody outcried that he was experimenting on black slaves and doing all kinds of wicked stuff to them. And the guy was practicing on people who didn't have any health insurance. They weren't respected members of society at the time, and he still took them in, and his techniques are still used today. That guy, he's done his fair share. There's a statue for the guy. But somebody, again, without checking any facts, made the uproar, and then they had a vote to remove the statue. The guy's family still lives in the city. His grandson is a DJ, and I'm friends with him on Facebook and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And his poor family, nobody notified them, let them know, hey, we're defaming your grandfather, And it's going back on that thing with the media entities and the Democrats. I think that's what I was on about. They're defending these large corporations and these entities, these media entities, because the media entities don't have accountability. Individual people have accountability. That's how they got R. Kelly. That's how they're throwing the book at Michael Jackson, even though he's dead. And I don't think Michael Jackson committed any crimes. After everything that I've seen about that stuff, I think that people were just chasing him for the money and the fame, and it was easier to get him when he was dead than when he was alive. I think that's what that was about. Same with R. Kelly. He was supposed to buy Nickelodeon. Now I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Nickelodeon that's not for nothing. I don't mind what I would just call suburban influence or urban influence or whatever. It's we could just give it the plain title. It's like black culture and white culture. They're different things, and we see a lot more black culture going into white culture. Growing up, we saw white culture try to impersonate black culture. And now that I see it, it kind of looks like we lost our culture. There's nothing left. There's nothing to go back to because it's an embarrassing thing to be, a white redneck Trump supporter. And I see this, and it's
Well,
almost
now
like it's
you
a
have-
long-term
Well,
destruction.
now you have Democrats
Mm.
inventing what their perception is of black culture, which to me seems like it's an insulting
Yeah, you see people
thing
that
to black
change their
people.
skin. Yeah, exactly.
When you're not black and you're trying to impersonate like you are, like the
Mhm.
fake black person that's running for office for
I don't
president
think,
now.
and then people say that in history the parties flipped, and I don't think that's true. I think that's a Democratic lie.
That would be Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris or what's
Yeah,
her name?
Because it looks like the interpretation of the Constitution, it was the fundamental difference between the two parties at the time, and they couldn't figure out. I think James Buchanan was president during this time, and the fundamental difference was that we were trying to see if the Constitution, in its words, allowed for the ownership of slaves versus the other interpretation that it didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like they allowed. It was the different interpretations. If everybody's free, then no, not everybody can own slaves. And then it was the other part was the property, the ownership thing, and
Well, are slaves people or property?
people are property, yeah. And the people thing was with the Republican Party. They founded the Whig Party and all that stuff, and the Whig Party became the Republican Party that freed the slaves. That was Abraham Lincoln and everything, and it's like I think that it's still that interpretation though of the Constitution that they hold. The Democrats still hold their interpretation in their manner, and they may not think that or they may not be able to publicly make voice that slaves are property, but they're buying people. They go and say, how much does the government have to pay you to live for you to believe in what I'm telling you? You know, it's what they're...
Sorry, kids.
Scared the dog.
I scared the dog. I woke up the mascot.
But how much are
Sorry, dear.
they, and that's I think the Democratic Party is doing right now,
You're
especially
safer
people
on the couch.
like Bernie Sanders. They're going around and they're asking kids, what's your
Sorry.
price? You want weed legalized? Like, what's your price
She didn't pee on the floor.
to get, and I don't know. I just don't. I don't know why it's like there's so many un-American pushes. I feel like there's plenty of people out there, plenty of patriots. There's no way that Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke are, unless that's the best that party can produce, then that's a clear sign of what that party's capable of producing. But there's no way that's even in Trump's not the best that we could have gotten, but he's what we got. He's great. He does a great job. And honestly, there's no bigger patriot out there. I didn't see that there wasn't a bigger patriotic candidate. But we got lucky with Trump that he believes what we believe and that he's fighting for us. We don't get lucky with politicians like that. That never happens. We never get decent politicians. And why? Because you can't be a decent person and be a politician. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. But it worked out well. I'm very happy to see the Mueller reports, dead in the water. Is that the leaked report?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's a link to
Do you
it. I
think
didn't
the
read the
Attorney
thing yet
General
because there's
will
nothing much to
investigate
read
the
there.
Democrats who
It's all
fell in
about-
mud?
They're talking about
what they call an nothing burger.
that Jesse Smollett case where the guy faked the hate crime and paid 2 Nigerians to attack him and said that they were white, MAGA supporting whatever the heck. They're looking into whether or not the police department has ties, and if they all have ties to each other, and if this was like supposedly a staged false flag. And they're looking into it. They're looking to see if the police commissioner, it's a black lady. They're seeing if she knows everybody, if this is like a big conspiracy by the Democratic Party or whatever. We don't know. I mean, I know in New York when they were doing, when they were collecting votes, I know a lot of people that were Bernie supporters, and they went to these places to go cast their vote, and this was just to get Bernie on the, to be the, the primary candidate for the Democratic Party. And they weren't letting him in the door. They weren't even letting him in the door. If they would just say like, oh, you don't have your credentials or you don't have something. And it was really just to make sure it looked like Hillary was getting all the support. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely, that was definitely sketchy. Are they going to look into that though? We don't even talk about that anymore. We don't even talk about like what Hillary Clinton did during the election. Everybody's like, they're shaming us. The media is, going back to what you're saying, like the media is shaming people. They're shaming us into thinking that we shouldn't go after Hillary Clinton. And I think that, forget these big entities. We should go after all of them.
Nobody's getting shamed. I think we're staying on the positive note of trying to straighten out the problems.
Yeah. Our party is the Democratic Party and the media. They're the ones doing the shaming.
Well, we have another. Yeah, I don't care what they think anymore.
Yeah, no.
I don't think I ever cared what they thought, but
Oh, see,
They
that
haven't-
stock just
they haven't-
crashed.
they haven't brought anything to the table other than a bunch of hatred and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, and I noticed
know,
that the people that are
Doesn't
most
do
often
us,
misguided.
doesn't do the country any good to be spreading hate and
Well, that's the
making
thing,
up stories.
unless you're
and-
getting your media from other people directly through social media or something, if you're interpreting what the media is telling you, I've seen it when I go to a restaurant or something on every night. The whole Mueller report, they sit there and they'll talk about like, oh well, if say they do find conclusion. Like, what do you mean if they do find? We knew there never was. How can they keep perpetuating this lie?
Well,
Did
because
they-
they're watching the TV news. And
Yeah,
the
and
TV
they're
news
stuck in
is-
that cycle,
is,
and they
you
just
know,
keep,
It's like my parents telling me that the president. They knew Donald Trump for 40 years, never accused him of anything horrible.
And then once he runs for president,
And then all of a
that's it.
sudden he runs for president, and
And he's
now
the
he's
next state
like
off
the
of it, you know?
Antichrist or
Yeah, it's
something.
Unbelievable.
It's like, does that mean that what they believed for 40 years, that they were wrong, and now we're supposed to believe some kind of horrible thing about him?
Mm.
It's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. No, I don't know how we lost so many.
I think NBC turned against him when he told him he's not going to be doing another season of The Apprentice, because they were making hundreds of millions of
I
dollars
also
on
know
that show.
Fox News or Fox company, they've been really anti-Trump recently, and it's not even just in their news, it's in their they have shows like Stars and stuff like that. I think Stars is on Fox, and my wife
Mhm.
watches that. And even in there, they're making like a little anti-Trump remarks or stuff like that. They just sneak it in when they can. Like that's the cool thing in society is like everybody's saying fuck the president. That's like what we're doing right now. Like it's like the new age cigarette. Like you're trying to just pass it off onto the kids. Like this is how it's, and it's not. It's not true. And it's the same thing. The media is just constantly portraying that. They're like Nazi propaganda. They're gonna keep saying it until it becomes truth. And even if it doesn't become truth, they want to be able to put it in the history books like it might have been. This whole Mueller thing, I'm glad that they can prove there was no Russian collusion, because that's what I was worried they were going to do. They were going to keep dragging it on until everybody believed that there might have been a shred of a chance that the election wasn't legitimate. And then you have people now that are like, oh, we want to look into how Trump won. There's such a big popular vote thing. One, we didn't look into the voter fraud thing with Clinton. There definitely was something going on. There's something like 200,000 registered voters that are dead, and their votes counted. We're seeing people who are registered Democrats, their vote counts twice sometimes. People who are registered Republican, unless they're out there voting, their vote's not counting. And it's like 25% of their votes are even showing up, I feel. And the voting machines, nobody's looking into the voting machines. Even like Boeing, I hope people start waking up and realizing you can't keep trusting these large companies unless there's a human element involved. It's not, we don't know if the ballot machines are true. We don't know if the airplanes are killing our civilians. We don't know, even though it was in another country. Still, we don't know if this uninterruptible autopilot, which was patented through the Clinton law offices in Arkansas, we don't know if that patent has malicious intent. The Boeing uninterruptible autopilot.
I don't know.
Did you
Oh,
hear?
you didn't know about that?
There was I think 2 plane crashes within 6 months, but one of them was in Ethiopia, and it was all these UN officials or whatever they were. I don't know
One was
officials. They were.
one was in Indonesia too, right?
Yeah, they're saying that MS-370 flight, they were saying that they might have experimentally put the software on the flight and that the software was the cause. But of course, Boeing is going to try to absolve themselves of any responsibility. And I think that they're saying now that somebody signed off on, like the FCC gave them their own, gave Boeing its permission to regulate itself or something. They're trying to say that we're not responsible for the plane crash, because if they are responsible, the families can sue the airline, and that's like a big thing with them. They don't like to get sued, so well, I can't imagine anybody would like to get sued. But they're saying that the software, when it was patented, was done by Hillary Clinton's law firm, which is a weird conspiracy. I mean, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. There's enough framework there to let your mind do its, let your mind wander and just.
So there's enough smoke to think there's fire.
Exactly. There is enough smoke to think there's fire. I think that there is some kind of connection, and if you have a political way of assassinating somebody, what's a better way than doing it in an airplane accident? And then having a company that does an amazing job at absolving its responsibility and saying that we weren't at fault, then you can't put the blame on anybody. You can't put on, you know what I'm saying? Like legally, they can completely get away with doing it. So now they're looking into that software to see if there's malicious intent in that software, and you can't look at code and see if it's malicious. It's you have to see the action reaction of it. You'd have to have somebody who wrote the code pretty much tell you why they wrote that, what it's intended to do, and then see what it's intended to
Well,
do.
the question
And
is
they'll sit there and say that, oh, it was never intended to do that.
If it's a computer program and it's running on the plane, they don't allow you to run computers on a plane and interfere with the operation of the plane during takeoff or landing.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, if that's an automated system, can it be interrupted by a signal from the ground?
Yeah, there can be. That whole point of the uninterruptible autopilot is so that if a terrorist just hijacked the plane, then they can remotely control the plane and guide it to where they want to bring it. So that was like the intent of that software. Again, under the guise terrorism, and usually what do we see under the guise of terrorism but laws that take away our rights or suppress, it's always hidden under that word. It was big terrorism craze in the 90s and everything. And I mean, there's enough to think that there's something up with that, And again, they all hide behind these big companies. So that's what I feel like we should be going after: is those entities, calling the light, seeing up what's, if people really did as crooked of things as they claim to have done, or if the conspiracies are true, if the Clintons were involved with Boeing to create some kind of assassinable thing, then Trump must be walking on the edge of being able to see all of this for what it is and the reality that we see. You know what I'm saying? He must be so much close,
Well,
our thoughts are public and everything about how we feel about Clinton, but he has to keep it to himself.
Today, the BBC reported that the fellow that runs Boeing was personally on the phone with the president asking him not to ground the fleet of 737Ms, and Trump said, for the welfare and safety of the country, we have to ground these planes and check it out.
Obama was a big, and then for anybody who didn't hear that, it was the owner of Boeing was on the phone with Trump, trying to get them to
Of
not
course.
pull the planes.
Why wouldn't the president of Boeing want to protect
Yeah.
his?
Well, Obama did a great job selling Boeing stuff. All he did was talk about Boeing this, Boeing that. Yeah, it's an American company. I'm not going to knock it, but again, we're seeing that Boeing had ties with the deep state. And then we get into, who else is involved with all of that? I'm sure if we did it's like an FBI cheat sheet, like when you draw, who's connected to who, I'm sure we could find who's responsible for half the stuff out there. It's not there's not that many coders for Boeing, There's probably more people that record nuclear weapons out there than there's people that have, written that uninterruptible autopilot software. I don't know. Yeah, and then the patents and everything. I mean, they're all filed through the Clinton law offices, all the patents. I mean, it's just weird. It's just a weird coincidence if it is a coincidence, but. So.
I'm going around on Facebook to the Never Trumper Facebook pages.
See what they're
and
talking
impeach
about.
And, well, it's all the nonsense. Even the Occupy Democrats, I don't understand. They screwed themselves, and then of course they're going to blame everybody else because the whole mantra was everything is Wall Street's fault. I think mostly they started that movement because they went and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going to college and found out there was no jobs because there was no economy left for them. And, it had to be somebody else's fault other than their own
I saw
faults.
that growing up. I knew there was no jobs. I don't know how I was the only one that knew that.
Why, you didn't go out and spend $50,000 to $100,000 going to college.
No, I didn't go to
right?
college.
Going to debt. You went.
No, I went and got a job.
Yeah.
I just figured that was promising. If I was going to find a career, I was just going to pick up at a factory, some local factory.
When I grew up, if you couldn't afford college, you went right into the workforce and you worked your way up. And that's how you made a living. You learned the job.
That's how you pick up a trade and all that stuff, and then you can go on and you can
but
go to your company's competitor.
But these elitists, they thought they have to go to college. I guess get somebody else to pay the bill. That's the thing in New York now. So everybody's going to get free college, and I don't know who's going to pay for that. But I don't know why they're going to go to college. Most people don't even need college.
People also treat college like it's a right. I think college should be treated as a luxury. It's an education.
Well,
you're not entitled to someone else's knowledge.
If you want to be, you want to start, you want to cheat, what do you call it? Cut the line. If you want to cut the line in any kind of business, that employs people, instead of learning by starting off at the bottom and working your way up and learning the whole business,
you have the experience.
You can go to college. You can spend $100,000. go into debt, and then you come out of there with a diploma, and the assumption is that you know what you're talking about. So the boss is going to give you a job sitting in an office,
I wonder if there's a
bossing other people
correlation to
around,
that.
when you have no experience and you have no clue what the hell you're doing, but you got that piece of
I
paper.
was saying it's like people have all this money and they're doing fine. I mean they're retarded, but excuse my language, but they are, and they're doing great. And it's like I'm brilliant and I'm suffering. How what did I do wrong there? There must be some correlation, with this going to college thing and not being too bright, But then again, school is for the uneducated. No.
Yeah, that's.
But yeah, it is interesting though, because I've seen that on more than one occasion.
Mm,
And it was like even when we went to the outlets over here, and we were walking past the Coach outlet, and they had these little Keith Haring dogs. I don't know if you know who Keith Haring the artist is, but he was an influential artist from back in the day. He was one of those Warhol type artists. He was influential enough. He had his own unique thing around him. But Coach was doing something with with the Keith Haring figures and stuff. And I thought, oh, it's so cool. I'm going to go in and just see what they're doing. I like Keith Haring artwork. I thought that was something I could appreciate. And, nobody in there knew who the guy was. Nobody had any idea. And they're all school graduates, college people. They're shopping in a Coach store, for crying out loud. I don't even have the money to go look in a Coach store. And they don't know anything about the guy. They had no idea who he was. They had no idea. And I said, yeah, I used to personally handle the Keith Haring Art Foundation collection. So I'm very well acquainted with Keith Haring. I think it was a neat thing to see stuff influenced by him. But few and far in between that I got impressed. But today when I stopped that kid when I stopped to help him, I was impressed. I told his girlfriend, I was like, you picked a winner. Nobody impresses me. His girlfriend was laughing, thought that was funny.
Look at this genius on here. There's some person on this Facebook page, Americans Against Trump.
Mm.
You got 10 people a day.
Now there's people that are
watching
going to
this
believe
stuff.
there's some kind of the general Barr stuff.
Well, I guess
it was lost in translation, and he got it and he changed the whole story. Sorry guys, he's dyslexic. He's just ruined you. It's like no, he's gonna read it and he's gonna summarize it.
Nancy, the headlines now are Nancy talking about the Mueller report. Nobody, I guess she doesn't want to tell anybody. She's been in government long enough that she ought to know what the rules and the regulations and the laws are.
Mm.
According to the Attorney General, even before he was appointed, he was quoted as saying that when and if the Mueller report ever came out, it wouldn't come out and be released to the public. It goes to the Attorney General, who reviews it,
and he releases
and then
his
he writes,
copy.
He writes
his version of
not
it.
his copy. He writes a summary
Mm.
of how he analyzes it, and he's under no legal obligation to release the Mueller report.
Mhm.
It's not how it works.
No, Mueller makes his recommendations, Barr, and then Barr here's the recommendations, and if it falls flat, if there's no recommendations, then
Mhm.
he's gonna drop the thing. But I think that they should look into who started this trend.
Well,
And
I think they will.
I mean,
we have 6 more years
I think Hillary
to
Clinton smashed
flip
her
the
phones
tables
with
on them
yeah.
and start chasing them all around, and they're gonna.
I'm glad that we are focusing on productive things first. That we're not, and it's a shame because we get drawn into this. We're getting
Well-
sucked into this to where we feel like we even have to defend it. If the Democratic Party just stopped and gave it a rest for 2 years, we could really get a lot done.
I think we should stop defending it and just move on. The
Yeah.
president, he'll say something at a press conference, and
So
then
move on.
they get all excited
That's the
about
Republican message
and
this
then he
week.
goes
Forget
back
the
to work.
Democrats. Move on. We're moving
Mhm.
forward. You can't stop the Trump train. There ain't no
Mhm.
brakes on the Trump
it.
train.
No,
No brakes. No brakes.
I'm throwing the Mark Dice version of the fake
Should
Mueller
share our link.
report all over the
Put our
place.
thing around.
I went on one of those Occupy Facebook pages, and instead of calling it for the kids, for the benefit of the idiot, unemployed or whatever they are, freeloaders, not the kids, but
The
to me,
Occupy-
to me they're kids.
Well, I saw the
the
Occupy movement.
20-somethings, the 30-somethings,
I was pretty involved with
the crybabies that want to blame everything on everybody
with
else.
the arguments that went on in the hierarchy. I got to see that firsthand. And Occupy Wall Street fell apart because there was political influence on certain people that were organizers. They weren't organizers. They were getting paid to organize. And one guy, his name was Aaron Black, his agenda was banning guns. He's in the Occupy Wall Street movement trying to convince kids to ban guns. This other guy, his name was Sumumba Mwambwik, and if I pronounced that correctly, and he was trying to make Occupy Wall Street all about black reparations. And everybody got so divided that it fizzled out. And then there was Daniel Kimmery, and he was this guy from Arkansas. He's a bit of a goofy guy, but he organized the last large rally of Occupy Wall Street. He got the Turks involved, and they joined in solidarity with Turkey and everything, and became
What's
this
that, the
huge
Young
thing.
Turds?
The Young Turds?
Sheik, whatever his name is.
The Young Turk? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I forgot
But
his name.
They showed up in force. They showed up in force. They were there, and they helped that last Occupy movement thing bloom. The message got completely lost. I think nobody knew. Like, even the media was going around asking kids, like, why are you here? And, oh, I don't know. It's like, well, you should know you're here.
Because mom kicked me out of the house and told me
Yeah.
to go play.
No, I mean, the goal, I think, was environmentalism was a big thing. People were concerned about, these large companies just taking on the environment and destroying it. And our livelihoods have gotten crappier.
Not every large company is out destroying.
No, not
sometimes
at all.
it's like the state, the environmentalists in the state of California. They spent decades fighting with the timber industry, and granted, you don't want the timber industry or anybody cutting down every single tree, stripping the landscape of the trees. But they had the option, and they tried to compromise with selective cutting to leave some of it to grow back, and then the trees that would remain would grow better. They'd get a stronger foothold on the soil. You wouldn't have the landslides, the mudslides, and all
The
that.
erosion and everything.
Yeah, the erosion and
Yeah.
the wildfires burning. California in recent decades lost 5 million acres of forestry, killed hundreds of people. Nobody even seems to mention anything about the millions and millions of animals that lost their lives in all these
Well,
fires.
it's because they don't want to cut any more trees down over there. They got all the,
Well,
it's like, look at paint companies
you
now.
have to thin out the trees even if you don't want to, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're leaving all
Well, it's
that fuel
Not every
in the
company
forest.
is bad.
you know?
It seems that certain companies are bad. Like, you got say a paint manufacturer, or car manufacturer, like Ford.
Okay.
Ford used to manufacture its cars with, I think, lead and, I
Was
think
it
they
lead
use
paint
lead-based
or
paint, but they also had
Mhm.
if you have John Deere green is chromium oxide. Chromium is just a green pigment you use in paints. But they were taking their paint waste and they were putting it in a landmine, not a landmine, in a
Landfill.
a mine shaft. And they were putting it in a mine shaft, and they filled up this mine shaft with paint sludge, and then it leaked into the water supply. And this town in New Jersey was like, well, where's this chromium coming from? It's coming from the mine. How is there chromium in the mine? It came from Ford. And then now we have all these heavy regulations on paints. And,
Well, they tried the same thing. The nuclear power industry. They tried the same thing with mines. They threw sealed barrels of radioactive spent fuel down into mine shafts and found out that leaks. They threw it in the ocean, found out it leaks.
well, I found out it spreads. It doesn't dilute.
Yeah.
It spreads. It's
Well,
even worse.
I mean,
But well, you get paint nowadays though. Like you get cars that last 5 years and then they rust away. Look at Toyota with its frame recall and its trucks. And literally it's just crap metal with crap paint on it, and it's not going to hold up. It's especially in the Northeast where we got road salt and stuff like that. You're not going to get 3 years out of these things. Brand new vehicle, you're not going to get 3 years out of it.
But you got a 5 to 7 year car loan.
Yeah, and you're paying your 60-month finance option. You're going to be paying the car. It's like a Chevy. You're going to be paying it off while you're still making. You're going to be making repairs while you're still paying it off, which is never something you want to do. And I just see that over-regulation ever leads to bad product, and it's like it's like one of those things where there's like a ladder. It's like who's going to get in trouble for doing what, who can hold who accountable. There is eventually when you get to the top of the thing. It's like DuPont could probably get away with whatever they wanted to get away with, in theory. But like a smaller company that's making chemicals, forget it. If there's any bit of competition, DuPont could probably call up somebody in the Pentagon and be like, I don't like this guy, take him out, and then they can send the EPA or OSHA or whatever to go give them a fine. They always hide in their channels and everything. But the general message though was if we have a factory in China that can make, this is the Occupy Wall Street, this is the message. It's like 10 years later, right? If we can make 10 million rubber ducks a day in China, just to create a couple of jobs in a company, just to give a guy something to do, just to give a company a chance to grow, just to give a product a chance, we can spend the resources on 10 million rubber ducks and hope that half of them sell and make some kind of profit. How can't we reorganize the distribution of materials so that theoretically everybody can get what they need. And want is included in need, and then we would have to, there's no government handouts. I just think that the future, instead of Toyota mass producing 100 million Camrys and hoping that half of them sell, it should be specialized manufacturers. You go to a shop and the guy says, okay sir, what car do you want? Well, I need a truck bed. All right, well, we'll start with truck platforms. These are all of the vehicles from 1923 to today. This is what we've built, this is what we can order, and these are the schematics we got, and this is what you could put on this and whatnot. Because vehicles, once you learn a good amount, most of the stuff crosses over anyways. Oddly enough, like Ford and Honda, you can change the bolts on a lot of them, and oddly it's the same threads. German is the only different thread on a lot of things. But if we can have specialized manufacturers producing things, and instead of paying $400 a month for 60 months for a piece of crap Toyota, you'd be getting a car that you plan on having for 20 years. It's something that was built customly to fit your needs. And it's like a made-to-order economy. And I think we'll see more of that with 3D printing, and we'll go away from mass producing and go to a made-to-order economy. But I think a made-to-order economy can work very well with capitalism. It will not work with socialism, because, again, you get into the difference between want and need. I think it should just consider everything a want, and consider needing something, that if you want something, you need it. That's it, and you just have to buy it. And how do you buy it? You contribute into that system. If everybody's making custom things, there's plenty of room for niche little positions for things. I think that's the way the economy should go. I don't think it should go to forcing nuclear power plants on people, forcing high-speed rails on people, forcing taxes on people, forcing rain taxes on people. So.
But isn't progressivism, the whole theory is that we, the elites, will plan your future because we're so much smarter than you are?
That's the thing, and they want to plan the future. They want us buying their goods. They don't want us 3D printing guns. They want to ban 3D printed guns, which is ridiculous. If you can 3D print the gun, how can you ban the gun? It's like you might as well get a pipe and a hammer. There's millions of ways. People will always figure out a way. You can never, it's just a technology. It shouldn't be barred from being, it's something someone should learn. And I think that though fundamentally we can preserve the capitalist view that, yeah, you should work to live, but we should make work valuable. We should make it like if you're going to work, it's going to contribute to a real economy that is niche made. Like it's all specifics. People who can sew or whatever, they could be doing the car seats or this, and that's just one thing. It's like the gun industry. You can't ban guns, because then you ban the paint companies like Cerakote that sell their product to these people that, the gunsmiths and the customizers. The way industry is intertwined now, it would just be an expansion. It's technically the only way it can go, because the mass production thing, the only thing that's good for mass production now is going to be things like, food supplies. I don't think we really need to mass produce cars anymore. I don't think it's working. I think it's failing. I don't have any data to show that up, to back that up, but I think if we looked up the numbers, it would show that less people